Okay, so this is another video on converting your mogul skiing into this high quality old school powder skiing. So these pictures were taken, you know, a decade ago, basically, uh, ski season wise. And same photographer actually from the first video series. It's just different. So here I'm skiing on different equipment. Here I'm skiing on 170 centimeter mogul skis. So this is where I'm saying that you can do this technique on really old school skis or mogul skis and be just fine. There's a lot more snow, so quite a bit more snow in this run. And these were good conditions. This is good skiing or good day to be skiing. So a couple things to point out. One of the things to be a good powder skier is being able to read how the snow has fallen and knowing your area. So this particular run, you can see up here that there's a cornice that's formed. God, these artifacts. I apologize for the artifacts. Can't control them. There's a cornice that's formed from the wind. That slope I know does not generally have a cornice on it. So that cornice is not a very big cornice, but it was created just from this one snow event. So that tells us there was a lot of wind, and the wind was going that direction to form that cornice. Right, so that's one indication that you have. Okay, so of where to ski your line. The other thing you can also see from a historic perspective that the trees, they have short limbs on one side and long limbs on another side. They also are kind of bent in a particular direction, and then the rime sits on the windy side. So that tells you there's consistent prevailing wind from left to right as we look at this photo. And so that again, that gives you an idea if you had no other information about how, if it was windy, where the good snow is. So it happens in this particular run. Over here is a big open snow field. God, why is this running like this? Sorry, my mouse is not working. It's just freezing. So over here is a big snowfield, and over here you'll see is like a ridge, and then in between the two is a little shot that carries a lot more snow. So from our absorption compression cycle that we saw, that I described in an earlier video, that's all the same. There's just a lot more snow, so that means that from the scheme of control, there's more resistance on my lower body as I make these turns, and so I spend more energy keeping my upper body in check. And when you're on skis this narrow, you're going to sink pretty deep into the snowpack before you build that base of support to initiate your turn off of, which is great. That's actually old school powder skiing. That's what you want. You want to sink in as deep as possible and get as much into that snow as much as you can, because that's what gives you the face shot and the total body shot. So that's actually the goal. This is good, not bad. Now you can see the volume of snow is quite a bit higher than in that first video of skiing. You can see it's going well over. You can't see my legs. It's always going over. So again, I'm not worried about what my skis are doing. I feel them. I don't pay attention to them. My vision is focused several turns down as I plan, and then I'm skiing just with my peripheral as needed. So everything is the same though. It's just so from that absorption compression cycle, you can imagine I'm planting my pole on the top of a mogul. I've passed the mogul. I'm in the trough between those moguls. So in modern mogul skiing technique, in the trough, you're actually at your tallest, right? And you're going to absorb the shoulder of this mogul and then carve down the backside and get taller. But in powder skiing or 1980s, early 90s mogul skiing, it's the opposite. You're actually at your most compressed down here in the trough between these two moguls, and that gives the pressure for your skis to build that base of support to initiate your turn off of. And then once you've initiated your turn and made your pole plant, you start to extend upward, and the combination of the camber of the ski, the tip of the ski, and the snowpack, and then your extension upward, you will move out of the snowpack and to complete your turn. So here I am. That's like and as you do that, that's where you get this big push of snow. So the snow as I'm at my most compressed, more snow is climbing up and onto my thighs and my quads basically, and the skis themselves. And so when I start to extend here, it's lifting that snow with me, and that's the big resistance piece that's going to help slow me down. And then that's where you get these big shots of snow, and you can actually just see the tip of my skis emerge from the snowpack in that shot. And here's a shot where you can actually see my skis, which in deep powder you don't necessarily see your skis. So, and here's another great shot. So I picked up enough speed, and once you have enough sufficient speed, you really can you deploy this turning style, and what you do to control your speed, there'll be a good kind of an optimal speed to get maximum movement through the snowpack and rhythm, and that's the okay, we're not going to use this. That's the shape of the turn, so how rounded or shallow it is, the frequency of the turns, and then how much you're sinking into the snowpack to control your speed. So if I need more speed, then my turns will get more shallow and less frequent. If I want less speed, then my turns will be more frequent and more rounded. And you do that without really thinking about it. You feel like, oh, if I turn too much, I'm going to come to a stop or slow down too much. So I need to make my turns more shallow. All right, and you can see it's kind of the continuation of that absorption extension scheme. And it's funny, it's like his camera was taking pictures so that you saw one turn more than the other. So this is the same run, or it's the same run, but this is on the shoulder, that ridge that I was describing. It gets, as you go down that ridge line, the ridge becomes very prominent and steep. This is a very interesting set of turns because this is really, really steep, and I get on my tails almost every turn. So that's on your tails. That's what powder skiing on your tails looks like. You can still ski on your tails. It's just really hard to do. It's exhausting, and you don't look good, and you're more likely to hurt your knees doing it. But you can see that I get my weight forward, and part of this idea is that in this type of phase, I am kind of looking to jump and get out of the snowpack, because here I know I'll start to accelerate. And acceleration is needed once you start your run to be able to deploy the technique. You need a decent amount of momentum. But I know that as soon as I re-enter the snowpack, I'm going to slow down. So I'm not in the snowpack right now, I'm out of it. But as soon as I get into it in this, I know that the amount of snow pushing against me is going to slow me down tremendously. And you can see my body position looks pretty good for this next turn. So I plant, come over. So the photographer sold some of these photos, so they're like a different color, but just ignore that. And you can see I'm kind of on my tails again, but here you can see all of my skis, and you can just start to see the green of my boots. So you can see I'm actually out of, even though this is like 2.5 feet of snow, I've come out of the snowpack. And I'm dropping, this is very steep, so I'm dropping pretty good elevation with these turns, several feet per turn in elevation. And you can see right here, I didn't even, my skis didn't touch the snow. Actually, I came out of it completely. Okay, so the same exhaustion compression scheme I described before. So you can imagine I'm going to be planting onto a mogul. So here I am getting ready to plant on a mogul. I'm in between the troughs of two moguls. So I'm going to compress, push downward, and basically get shorter is the way to think about it. And it's not really curving of the spine. It should be more of an athletic squat. And what that's doing is I'm applying pressure downward on the skis, which is then forming, the skis are compressing the snow, the new snow, and forming that base, that platform that I'll initiate my turn off of. And then I'll plant. Once I feel that and I start my pole plant and I've initiated my turn, that's when I start to extend, and then I'll start to pop out of the snow. So here's the pole plant. I've initiated my turn, and I'm extending and popping out of the snow. And you can see that again I'm on my tails, and part of that is the steepness of the slope, and then I'm scared of crashing because of how steep this is. It'd be pretty easy to crash, but you can see that I had enough forward momentum in my center of mass, my upper body, to kind of get things back in line. And this is a great shot because you can see I came completely out of the snow. My skis are just starting to re-enter the snow, and it's kind of blowing up around me. So just some snow awareness things. So the run is getting less steep, and you can know this because here's a slough avalanche line from snow that got moved and slid, and it's where it comes to a stop means it's run out of kinetic energy. So it was already decelerating at that point, which means that the slope started getting less steep, probably somewhere just behind me, and then it's flattened out quite a bit. And what that means is I'm less scared now because it's going to be easier to keep my weight forward all the time. And the more weight forward you are, the better you are at controlling the snow resistance you receive on your chest. So you can see how that looks. And this is, like I said, this is a lot more snow. This is good snow. This is a great shot, and that you can see I've cleared the mogul. I've come over I'm at my full extension. I've come over the shoulder of it. My tips have just popped creeping out of the snow, but they don't really leave the snow. In deep powder, they don't really leave the snow. They don't get a chance. And I'm wearing black pants, but you wouldn't know that in a lot of these shots that I'm wearing black pants. Okay. So this is the third run, and this is kind of just for fun, but I don't usually jump cliffs, but I knew the camera guy was still there, so I decided to go ahead and come around and jump off this cliff. And this is a great shot, since I think it's the one time you can really see my skis. And there they are, very small little mogul skis, and I didn't realize how much height I was getting. So there's a steep runs need wetter snow to hold snow. That's the key metric for any slope, is that its steepness dictates how much snow it's going to hold. And this is about this run. It's about its limit. If I scroll back up to like a shot up here, if you see this shadow line here, and there's a non-shadow line there. What that is, that's actually a slide. That's a slough slide off the top. So somebody made a turn, and that disturbed the top layer of snow, and it's steep enough that top couple inches of snow slid down the slope. That tells you this thing is just on the verge of about ready to just slide down the mountain, which means that you could not have gotten lighter snow. If the snow had been lighter, it would have slid. Anyway, so what that means here is, so you had two tracks that came across, one like this and one like that, and they undercut a big section of snow right here, and those guys went off, and then this section of snow slid, and it slid downward. And I didn't know that when I jumped over it, but that there's now a big reservoir of snow right there that I'm going to land into. And I didn't realize how big of a jump that was going to be, but I landed into it. And one of the things you learn about powder skiing is when it's around your head and over your head, that's like that great shot you see. Oh, it's over his head. It's amazing. You can't see and you can't breathe when that's happening. So it's actually, if you're not prepared for it, it's alarming. The not being able to see isn't so alarming, because you know the mountain hasn't disappeared in front of you. You know that it's still there. But not being able to breathe, especially when you're skiing and your heart rate's going, very quickly is a problem. So I hit this big pluff of snow, and I came out, and I couldn't see, but I could breathe again. And I knew that, again, the camera guy was there, so I turned through it, even though I couldn't see very well. It doesn't look so bad, but I think like this whole half of my goggles and most of the side is just covered in snow. But and here I am, and you can see the skis I'm on, again, really small. These are head Matrix moguls. They're in 170 centimeters and 89 at the tip, 60 in the waist, and 80 at the tail. So not a lot of ski. The camera guy asked me after this run how come I was sinking in all my runs and nobody else was sinking in as much. And I told him, I'm on mogul skis, and he didn't understand what I meant. Then I showed him the ski, and I said that the surface area of both of my skis combined is less than the surface area of one of the other person's skis, or like 2/3 of the snowbird surface area. So I was on very little surface area, and on deep snow, it means I'm sinking in the way people used to do all the time. So it was a good runs. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys next time.